As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of Burn and Return. For the next hour or so, we'll see how long it ends up playing out. There's no telling these days. We got a lot to talk about. My name is Matt. Sometimes I go by the Grass Factor Martin. Alongside me, I have Mr. Ryan DeMay and Ray Ito. Between the three of us here, we have entirely too much time invested in the industry. I don't know if it's too much time, but we do have a metric shit ton. We were doing the math the other day, and Lord have mercy, I was quite stunned
90,
at
90 years.
The way it started adding up. I was like, oh boy, that got weird real quickly. But here we are. We're here. We're gonna talk. We like to talk. And what we talk about specifically on this show are going to be the things that we see as we scroll through the headlines in our day-to-day lives that we think will have an impact for good, better, or worse on the current state and long-term viability of our industry. Gentlemen, how in the hell are y'all doing?
Well, Matt, it's another a day of questioning, our mortality and everything like that. Thanks for putting that into perspective. How much time we have invested in this and how little might be left, right? So I'm doing my part to sit here tonight, spend a little time with you guys, and maybe step on the gas pedal of life and maybe eat a bacon cheeseburger and have a milkshake later on, just for fun.
Dang, that sounds good, Ryan. That sounds good.
Talk to me, Ray. On the weekly death board, where are we standing? What are we looking like here?
Well, I think we're doing pretty good. No real deaths to speak of, although this morning I had a little desk talk with one of our members, Tifway Lawns.
It happens. If anybody has been paying attention, they move forward the doomsday clock. We're about 90 seconds to midnight. Yep, they move that forward, and of course our biggest, it was 100 seconds to midnight, but since 2020, but because of the threat of nuclear war on the brink and all that highly optimistic stuff that we see in the headlines. They went ahead and like, we'll inch it forward another 10 seconds. We'll give it 90 seconds to midnight. So think about that. Every 90 seconds that passes, consider it a miracle and keep a smile on your face. Remain highly optimistic because that's when you think about that, 90 seconds, there's a lot of time for optimism to build up there. Gentlemen, let's check out. Speaking of optimism, let's check out this week's headlines. I'm sure this is going to make you feel real good about yourself.
Nothing to fear here. This is just the news.
This is just the news, and as I suspected, boy, this will make you feel real good about things that are going on out there. Oh, except for the fact that 30,000 gallons of hog waste from Murphy Brown Farm enters creek in Baldwin County. The North Department of Environmental Quality, the INDEC, is investigating the discharge of an estimated 30,000 gallons of hog waste from a farm owned by Murphy Brown, according to a press release from state officials. The farm is in Bladen County, northwest of Ammon and southwest of Roseboro. It has a state permit to raise as many as 4,000 hogs. The parent company of Murphy Brown is Smithfield. And if anybody is wondering how this works, and this is going to be similar in the poultry industry, where Yes, you may be an independent owner of your farm, but Smithfield dictates every single thing on your farm. They supply your pigs, they supply your feed, they handle every aspect of bringing that swine to production, except for the waste. That is always the clause that no one wants anything to do with. They want nothing to do with your waste. So in the poultry industry, they'll handle every aspect. They'll bring in the chickens, get out the chickens, all your genetics, all that fun stuff. But boy, oh boy, the litter you've got to figure out what to do with on your own. Similar scenario here. Operators notified the Division of Water Resources Friday evening that a recirculation pump had failed, which caused the release. NDEC did not name the waterway, but the closest ones are Turnbull Creek and Little Turnbull Creek. State investigators saw waste in the creek nearly 3/4 of a mile from the farm lagoon. A beaver dam prevented the waste from traveling further. Hey, good job there. Turnbull Creek feeds the Cape Fear River about 20 miles downstream. Farm operators are pumping the waste from the creek. The state database that contains compliance enforcement inspection documents for all permanent hog farms was down Sunday morning, of course. So the history of this facility was not immediately available. This is one of 144 corporate-owned facilities in North Carolina. Most of the state's 2,200 hog farms are contract farms, meaning they're independently owned by Smithfield, who dictates every aspect of their operation. So there we go, 30,000 gallons. Now, I will say this, and let me kind of put this into for perspective here, and I will pull up an analysis. It is not high analysis material here. Where am I? So swine finishing manure. So yes, exactly. You're exactly right, Ray. It is the overwhelming majority of this is water. So I do not see golly somewhere. Nope, I do not see it. Okay, in 1,000 gallons of manure, you have 21 pounds of nitrogen, phosphorus, and 11 pounds of potassium. So quick math on that. So that's in 1,000 pounds, right? So in 1,000 gallons. So we've got 30,000 gallons. So 30 times 21, 600 pounds of nitrogen, roughly 600 pounds of phosphorus and roughly 300 pounds of potassium. So it is a shit ton without a doubt. But it is not the same as losing 1 million gallons of UAN into the Mississippi or something, right? So bad, yes, but it wasn't quite Gavilon bad, and so at least this is rectifiable to an extent. Boys, let me ask you this though. Putting this into perspective, especially from a mathematical standpoint, and seeing that the amount of poundage that ended up making it into the waterway is not something that is going to cause widespread ecological disaster. Do you see this being foundational for regulation modifications coming out of the industry or the state in general?
I highly doubt it. I mean, stuff like this happens, right? It doesn't mean that it should. Doesn't mean that. But here's what I feel for. I'm going to take the human side of this. I'm the touchy-feely one here in the group. How'd you like to be that poor bastard that had to call up on Friday night to index to their line and be like, hey, yeah, so that recirculating pump failed and there's a little bit of shit in the creek. Oh, how much? Roughly 30,000 gallons. I mean, that's not fun. That's It's like calling to the police station and saying, hey, I just did 92 in a 55. I just wanted to let you know.
That was me. Okay.
Yeah. So, as far as regulation goes, though, I mean, that's why they're there. Now, here's my question. I know that people are always trying to get rid of this. I think you've been approached multiple times, right, Matt, of people trying to lose this stuff, closed stream and upcycling and all this other bullshit, right?
Yes, especially with pig manure. This is very cyclical. with pig manure. I will say on 5-year intervals, people will show up with the digesters again, right? Where they want to come install a digester, harvest the methane, and then take the methane free digestate and then recirc that back into adjacent farm fields, right? So yes, and that is back up on the upswing because there's a free money out there to get it done.
Well, so and I guess that'll be the thing, Ray, is does this stuff does it go away, and is there a better way to handle it than how it's being handled? Is there an opportunity there? I don't know enough about pig shit to be able to tell you. Yes.
Nope. I'm under the idea that a lot of this waste actually needs to be dehydrated, incinerated, and then buried. Stop storing this shit. Plain and simple. Stop storing it. Stop keeping it. I mean, it don't get better with age, and it sure is not better if you have, say, 50 or 100,000 gallons, or no. In the case of a lot of these operations, here's a fun fact for you guys. A lot of these operations literally are trying to store 1 million or more gallons of basically what's considered raw sewage, because what's happening is that they're flushing out their hog pens, and all of that wastewater goes into a holding area, and Lord have mercy if their waste control system has a malfunction and it then proceeds to pump 30,000 gallons of liquid shit and raw sewage right into the river. Okay?
Yeah.
I think the easiest thing to point at too is look at the number of successful digesters in operation in the United States right now, especially in this region. Exactly. It is hardly any. I know one that regularly runs. And do you know how much manure they process through this? Almost zero. Almost zero. Yes,
So
the majority of what they're processing is waste from it's silage from distilleries. They make more money on dock fees from distilleries and running that through the digester and adding small amounts of manure to maintain pH and bug populations and all that shit. They've got that down to a science. And it works really, really well. But, from the system, in this particular farmer I know that runs this system, what he bought versus what he ends up running now, he has rebuilt that entire thing to the tune of double what his initial investment was, and is just now starting to recapture some of that money that he had invested in it. And it's been a long, slow uphill battle. We've covered one of these stories before of a bladder that was capturing methane, failed, and it failed due to sun exposure because they do not have an unlimited lifespan. And when it did, that was a lot of concentrated methane that immediately burped to the atmosphere. And then after that was the manure runoff that ended up occurring as a result of it, right? And that one has just completely disappeared after we talked about it. Never could see it in a headline ever again, aside from that initial report. So who knows how it shook out. So anyway, it's interesting. Keep an eye on this. I can say that I have seen over the last 3 years, one large publicly traded company spin up an idea for a digester, and it was with a state-of-the-art system to recirc all the digestate back into surrounding fields. And once the economics really were sorted out, they pulled the plug on that project. And it is what it is. So I don't know, something to keep an eye on. I don't know what the appropriate answer is on how to handle this, but maybe digester technology isn't there. Maybe the finances aren't there. I don't know, but
well, I mean, bottom line is that whoever clicks the scat and bestiality check boxes on Pornhub probably got really excited about this. this article.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
most, mo-
put that one in the library, will you? Speaking of raising money, Scythe Robotics raised $42 million for autonomous electric lawnmower robot. So they raised $42 million for its pipeline of 7,500 orders. That's pretty impressive. Their system is the autonomous M52 lawnmower. Launching from stealth in June 2021, we've seen an overwhelming interest from commercial landscape contractors with our mower as a solution addressing both their crippling labor pains and their electrification needs. We're thrilled to expand our outstanding investor list and secure more capital to scale and meet the phenomenal demand for the M52 as we work to decarbonize the landscape industry. The funding comes from its Series B funding round led by Energy Impact Partners and features new investors of Arcturn Ventures, Alumni Ventures, and Amazon's Alexa Fund, alongside existing investors, True Ventures, Inspired Capital, and more. That's one of the ones I'll look into and see what other projects these folks have in their portfolio. I'm pretty interested in that. But $42 million is nothing to sneeze at all. That's a significant amount of money. And if they can deliver on those 7,500 orders with that $42 million drawdown, that is a significant start in the right direction. And yeah, I don't know. Kudos to these guys. That is good work on their part.
Yeah, $42 million. I saw this thing last year. So, no, actually, take that back. 21. I saw this thing. There's a company here doing a demo of it. It still wasn't quite ready for prime time at that point, but they did have what sounded like. I mean, again, you're hearing this stuff. It could be, two dudes in a double wide somewhere in California. Who knows? But a pretty robust team of programming staff, robotics folks, things like that were working to improve it. But in the basic stuff of like quality of cut and things like that, that's where it was kind of lacking. Not so much the tech side, but implementing the tech. And so that's going to be the interesting thing with all this stuff. The 7,500 orders is awesome, but not only can you build it, but can you implement and support it? Because it's going to take a lot of effort. And I'm seeing that up close right now with the other competitors in the market for what these guys are into, and that is the biggest thing. Is the implementation piece is rough for a lot of folks. So Ray just saw how tall that worm. I didn't even see what kind of grass that was, but it was really fucking tall. And Ray was probably getting anxiety looking at that. Go back just.
Yes. I mean, I'm getting like major anxiety, and again, I had a interesting conversation yesterday afternoon with one of my sod grower friends. He was talking to me about yet another variety of zoysia being rolled out in Hawaii, and I basically told him, no, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna fucking work.
Ray, see, that's the thing is, I think all three of us could do this in our own separate ways, but we should go on like Upwork or Fiverr or something like that. And just offer our services, just to have, we'll get paid by the hour, couple $100 just to have tough conversations with people and tell them what they need to hear in our own personal ways. Matt calls you up, tells you get fucked,
get fucked,
and just goes off on you. Ray will tell you why it won't work, and I'll do it with white gloves treatment. I can do that. I can very politely tell people to go fuck off. It's an art, though.
Hey, looking at some of these funds here. These are not small funds at all. This is major VC money behind these guys.
So does that mean that they can blow skirts up? Is that what you're?
I think they are way more interested in the software piece of this than they are in the actual hardware piece of this. So I'm curious how I'm curious how the implementation of the manufacturing of the parts, the assembly is going to take place, because the people that are partnering heaviest on this are purely, this is big software money, venture capital money that's in here. So interesting to watch how this shakes out. It is without a doubt pretty cool. I see one that plays kinda in this space with some pretty decent manufacturing type systems, and that would be Arcturn, right? They are part of a very very large biofuel company that takes waste biomass into converts it into ethanol, and so pretty interesting there. They have a unique thermocatalytic process to be able to do that. So I don't know. It's definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Real quick, just want to get this out here and say I want to personally thank everybody that helps us to be able to continue to do this. Today's show is going to be brought to you by you guys, the patrons. We have a ton of fun. We had when you get onto the Discord and there's a new channel called the Library, and you dip your head in, and it all makes sense. Everything is right in the world after the fact. That tells you. It tells you that it tells you where everything is. But more importantly is, what we like to do is take the things that we get from being able to do this and give back with it as well too. WeCareLawnCare.info was our obviously one of the biggest, probably the biggest raise for St. Jude from the lawn care community that's ever taken place, and we were happy to head that out. And even that number there of $9,200 is deceiving, because corporate matching started coming in after the fact, and we're well over 11 grand now, and it's awesome. It's still there and it's still live, and we highly recommend you share it with other content creators that don't even have to be in the lawn care space, and ask them to do the same thing. And they can do it exactly for the Travis Feltner Fund, because he was the one who inspired us to be able to do what we do with our horrific, low life, fucking embarrassment of a show that we have here. And so instead of getting into an ego stroking contest, we said, you know what, we'll put our money where our mouth is, and there it is. So we thank all of y'all as well for allowing us to be able to do that. Patreon.com/burn and return. But
thanks for giving me an explanation.
Look, that was the, hey, look, we can be good people. We don't prefer to be good people because we
don't prefer. That should be our bumper sticker right there that we fucking hand out in lieu. We don't prefer to be good people.
It's we're capable of it, but the more important topics. It is. It's a lot of effort, and so what we would rather do is, like our next upcoming segment here of Joe Knows Turf.
Joe Knows Turf. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm going to give you a bunch of accurate turf facts today. Because
Joe knows turf. DeMay, talk to us about what Joe knows about turf today.
Woo! Well, I'll tell you what. Joe's busy. Joe's getting after it, and one of his favorite people. Actually, this is funny. That paths would cross like this. Streams would cross. Swords would fight. Whatever. I mean, who knows how these things get started in a truck stop battle.
Dock it if you got it.
Oh,
yeah. I had to keep going.
One for the library, right there.
It's not a lift gate, sir. All right. So this is Joe's original love in Turfgrass. His very first one that he fell in love with, and then very much fell out of love with. And I don't know, maybe they're reconnecting. I'm not sure. So to that point, let's go ahead and watch a video here from Alan Hain, the lawn care nut, and see what he's got going on today and how we might be able to help him.
Update of everything that's been going on around here at LCNHQ, and the first thing we got to talk about are spiders. So I showed you how I keep these cleaned out of my pool.
Let's jump up to the lawn portion here, J-Pink. Slide on up there, past the pool clean. There we go.
Let's talk about Florida lawns real quick and what's going on here as we're coming through winter and these last two cold blasts. Now, you'll remember the frost line that I talk about in Florida. It's north of the I-4 corridor, and you all have lawns up there that pretty much go dormant every year for at least a couple 2-tree months. Now, south of this line, we usually don't go dormant unless it's a super cold year. And then anywhere inside of that corridor, well, it's kind of hit or miss depending on the season. I'm over here in Bradenton on a west coast and just south of that frost line, and being a little bit closer to the water, it stays pretty warm over here every year. So let's look at how my lawn is holding up with these last 2 cold blasts. First, let's take a look at the zoysia, and you can see it's got the tiger stripes from the cold. Now, Bermuda's mostly known for this, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Bermuda in a minute, but zoysia, which has a very similar growth habit, it has rhizomes and stolons, it kind of reacts the same way. However, this zoysia, it does have a lot of wild Bermuda scattered throughout, and that Bermuda is for sure suffering from the cold. In fact, you can see here in my neighbor's...
Okay. So the tiger stripe, let's talk a little bit about warm season grasses under cold stress, right? So if you don't know and you're not privy to it, right just before Christmas time, even down into Central Florida and even down in South Florida, it was pretty cold. I think they had frost even down in like Naples, that far south. So obviously this grass is, a month past that. It's starting to come out of it a little bit, but part of what is, I guess, sort of telling here in the way that it's explained is that, hey, we've got zoysia here, and zoysia will hang on a little bit more in those colder temperatures. You're not going to see a tiger stripe, but here it is, tiger stripe. Hey, that doesn't make sense because of what was just said. And then we get the explanation that, well, there's a lot of wild Bermuda in here as well. So what I think we're seeing here, gentlemen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking at zoysia that's got Bermuda grass infested in it, right? Which if we want to have, a single species in there, that would be advisable, but we don't. And that's okay. That's how a lot of lawns exist down south, and that's fine. So we've got dormant or very near dormant Bermuda grass, and our zoysia is hanging on. So let's go ahead and proceed from here and see what's going on.
Lawn. This is a huge patch of Bermuda that has gone completely tiger striped from the cold. The little bit of St. Aug that is in here is still green, but the Bermuda itself is checked out pretty good. All right, so if your zoysia got hammered like mine, Stress Blend is perfect right now. Potassium to help it. A little bit of nitrogen doesn't push it too hard, and of course it's got those nice micronutrients. So that's where we're at now. If you're currently dormant 100%, you got to wait until you're mowing it.
Oh, wait, we gotta stop right there. I'm sorry. By the way, Dan the Lawman, thank you for making that map. By the way, it actually helps put it into perspective for me, because one of the things that I didn't learn until I was an adult was that there were parts of the United States that did not receive frost. And let me tell you, it was shocking to me when I learned that for the first time. And it was probably one of your maps over the years that ended up teaching me that. Second of all, this is going to be great. We have a guest coming up on Thursday that I think who is what I would consider well researched in the Florida market, and I would love to get their input on using potassium to rectify tiger striping, frost-induced tiger striping of warm season grasses. Now, gentlemen, I am not the most up to date with all the late great breaking news on potassium, because I know there's thousands of studies coming out every year about it. Just kidding. A couple notes to highlight here is, gentlemen, to date, has there ever been a published study that you're aware of that showed a statistically significant response in turfgrass color or quality as a result of potassium fertilization?
The answer to that would be no. It doesn't exist.
No.
Okay.
Now,
Second of all, hang on. I'm gonna play corollary fairy here. And we all know causation does not equal correlation. Correlation doesn't equal causation. But I feel like this is close enough that if A does not produce B, right, therefore A should not produce C as well, assuming that that C would be a function of B. So someone would have to write that out. I'm not in the state of mind to be able to put that on pen to paper. But if you hear what I'm saying, there is that if we know that turfgrass will not see a statistically significant color response from potassium fertilization, why in God's green earth Will someone on this panel please explain to me why potassium is the appropriate choice to rectify tiger striping in frost damaged warm season grass?
It's not. It's not
Okay.
at all.
Mm.
And in fact, the association, one association that has been found is, in fact, misuse or overuse of potassium in the fall aggravates wintertime and early spring diseases such as snow mold and spring
I've
dead
seen that.
spot. How's them apples, Matt?
I did not know that about spring dead spot, and that is fascinating.
You make it worse. I mean, by applying it, you actually are making things worse because like currently the recommendation is to feed your potassium throughout the growing season as needed, but do not load potassium in the fall and winter as a winterizer. Do not do that. Okay? And
maybe then what about just throwing down a bunch of Heritage G in the fall, starting in like December, that I also learned on
Right.
YouTube. I learned on YouTube that
okay.
you put Heritage G down in December for spring dead spot. Would that be so? Say, hey, I did load a bunch of potassium trying to rectify my tiger striping, and okay, so Ray's telling me not to do that, but
Too late.
I may be inducing spring dead spot, but should I go ahead? I know it's December, January time, but can I go ahead and put down Heritage G? That's good timing, right?
No, wrong timing. Too late. Because
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
if you're going to be doing anything for spring dead spot,
Uh-huh.
your application literally needs to be in the late summer, early fall, when the grass is capable of uptaking your fungicide, and your fungicides that are effective include the class of fungicides known as SDHI inhibitors, such as Lexicon, Velista, Kabuto, or Exemplar.
So what I'm
And
hearing is that we are 0 for 2 on YouTube recommendations here on appropriate management. Domain, keep us keep us walking off the cliff here, because I'm your lemming.
Is there, never, I can't say that. That's terrible. I'll say it after the show. So I think part of what might be happening here is that, there is this correlation between stress improvement and K application. And I think there's some major implications there that don't necessarily follow what the science, Joe, has to say. And in that particular case, right, so here we're looking at, the old adage is, if you increase K applications on warm season turf early on in the fall, right? So again, we're sort of missing the window. Doing it right now as that grass is dinged up or possibly even dormant. And I think he does say that. He does say in the video that if you're completely dormant, wait. So I'll give him that. I think he's trying to, he understands the issues that might come from that. That being said, we've got studies going back 30 years, right, that show that, K applications at this time, right, on dormant turf or even turf that is, past the point of like truly hardening off because of cold temperatures or something like that, there's nothing to do. Nothing that's going to make it, improve
better.
Anything like that from an agronomic perspective. So that all being said, what's
Time's
left?
up. It's
right?
over.
What's left? What's the only other reason that somebody would say to do this?
They want you to buy their shit.
There it is.
They want you to buy their shit.
Inventory liquidation. You got to make some room for some
Yeah.
new product, right? So
Or-
listen, Alan, I get it, I understand it, but it's not good advice for a lot of reasons, and the science doesn't support that. And we know that we're all about science. We know that Joe, him and science are taking a break right now. Hopefully they'll get back together, move back in together, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, a good highlight here on maybe not reaching for the bag or the bottle, gentlemen. When things get stressful, that should be the message, right?
Yeah, don't reach for the bottle, and that applies
Unless you're in
to
Pittsburgh
not only
with Tony Montana.
Yeah.
yeah,
You can
not,
reach for both of those.
not only to Turfgrass,
Yeah,
but
get
that's
47.
also a life lesson. Don't reach for the bottle or other when things get stressful, because you're just going to be out a lot of money and you are not going to improve your life circumstances.
Well,
Just saying.
in that regard, thank you, Joe, for keeping us up to snuff there on everything that's going on. And I can't wait to see what we have next week. But until then, let's check out this week's Burns. Michael Chaley got a hold of Sheila in the library there, and she's not sounding real hot. Boy.
That's a tandem dive right there. A real tandem dive.
Yep.
Tandem up dive.
Oregon Grass Seed Company pleads guilty to defrauding J.R. Simplot Company. An Oregon Grass Seed Company pleaded guilty and was sentenced on Tuesday for its role in a scheme to defraud another grass seed company and its former subsidiary. According to court documents, Ground Zero Seeds International pleaded guilty to one count of misprision of felony and was sentenced to 1 year probation. The Yamhill, Oregon company was also ordered to pay a $40,000 fine and $516,000 restitution to J.R. Simplot. The Jacqueline Seed Company was a former subsidiary of Simplot. Court documents say that Ground Zero Seeds and its president and owner, Gregory McCarthy, had a long-standing relationship with the Jacqueline Seed Company, a subsidiary of Simplot based in Liberty Lake, Washington. GZI and McCarthy contracted with Jacqueline for the purchase and sale of grass seed. The contracts were typically negotiated with Richard Durham, a former Jacqueline employee who oversaw the company's order fulfillment and warehousing operations in Oregon. He had the authority to purchase grass seed from certain Oregon growers over others. Starting back in 2015, McCarthy and Dunham agreed that DZI would pay Dunham a per-pound kickback for grass seed purchased by Jacqueline. The kickbacks were built into the prices reflected on invoices to Jacqueline. Dunham artificially inflated the price Jacqueline paid for the seed or reduced the price at which Jacqueline sold the seed to GZI. The documents say to help conceal the scheme from Jacqueline, Dunham registered a separate business entity through which he purported to offer consulting and grass seed brokering services. Dunham used the company and a checking account in the company's name to accept kickbacks from GZI, McCarthy, and others. Between April of 2015 and September of 2019, McCarthy used GZI to pay Dunham approximately $191,790. Prior to GZI pleading guilty and being sentenced, a one-count superseding criminal information was filed charging the company with misprision of misprision of felony.
Jesse Biscay, where you at?
Jesse, help me out here. Dunham also pleaded guilty to 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud in July of 2022. He'll be sentenced in June of 2023. The Jacqueline saga continues. Actually, it looks like it's starting to wind down now. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Shook out.
Yeah, but some people get ready to go to federal pound me in the ass prison, right? I don't think you're going to. I don't know that they'll go to maximum security or what it'll be interesting to see what the sentencing is. But the tough thing with all this, gentlemen, is that especially grass seed and sod, we see this a lot with how much certified 419 sod, Matt and Ray, is really truly certified 419 sod. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing.
Coin flip.
Grass. Yeah, really.
Coin flip.
Grass seed.
Actually,
you don't know what the hell's in the bag.
Here's my experience with sod is that I have experience with what I call blue paper sod. And you know what blue paper sod is?
Nope.
No.
Okay, let me explain it to you guys. Blue paper sod is sod that has been certified by the licensor to be the named variety, and you as the purchaser are then enjoined from propagating or selling that sod once you've purchased it. Yeah,
Well, there you go.
It's it's
Well, and for the
opposite
people
of
that don't,
the 419 that is common or some random mutant of Bermuda. It's opposite.
well, and for the folks that are scoring at home, there was a lot of different schemes that these fellers were using, and one of them was
Mhm.
basically saying, "Hey, we don't have enough of our most elite varieties based on the demand that we have, so we're just going to take, we're going to take a bunch of well liquor and put it in the top shelf bottles, gentlemen, and
Mhm.
we'll just sell them the top shelf bottles."
It's
They'll never
50-50.
know,
It's good enough. Nobody will ever know. The law of averages work out in our favor. It's 85% germination rate. You'd carry the 1, you'd subtract the 2, and yeah, it's good
Jack
enough.
Daniels and Canadian Club.
Yeah. Oh boy,
Yikes.
that'll feel like
Yikes.
waking up in a gutter after that. Colorado should kick lawns to the curb. Speaking of waking up in a gutter here, I feel like I did with this absolute doozy by Sammy Herdman here. Just an absolute joy to probably be around. I highly recommend you invite her to all your parties. I'm sure she would be the life of it. And just to put a little perspective in here, she lives in Denver and takes full advantage of everything the outdoor industry has to offer. As a campaign associate for Environment Colorado, Herdman works to protect Colorado's resources for future generations, because if it wasn't for the work of her, they certainly wouldn't be there. But over the course of the next 7 years, an average of 35,000 housing units will be built each year in Colorado. If past trends persist, around 70% of those housing units will be single-family homes. From Fort Collins to Colorado Springs, it's likely that Coloradans will see more single-family suburban developments popping up, and with them, lawns. Conventional grass lawns ornament the vast majority of American homes, covering 3 times as much surface area as irrigated cornfields in the United States. Although lawns are often purely aesthetic, sometimes they're chosen for their durability. Lawns hold up against cleats, dogs, and kids. Lawns used frequently for games and playtime are easy to justify, especially when they're public. But there are far too many cropped green lawns that are neglected until a weed sprouts up or it's time to mow. Too many lawns exist just for the sake of being maintained. Despite covering only 2% of land in the United States, most grasses can't survive in the West's arid climate without constant watering. Half of the water used by average single-family homes is devoted to lawn care. Combined with water sprinkled onto parks, medians, golf courses, a whopping 25% of Denver's municipal water is devoted to lawns. Considering the Western U.S. is in the midst of the most severe drought in a millennium, allocating billions of gallons of fresh water to grass seems like an egregious misuse of resources. The drought is so dire that the Colorado River, which provides for 40 million people across western U.S. with water, has shrunk by 20% over the past 20 years. Lawn maintenance is also a threat to Colorado's pollinators and public health. Americans use approximately 70 million pounds of pesticides to maintain lawns each year. Of the 30 most common lawn pesticides, more than half are probable or possible carcinogens, and many of them are linked with birth defect, neurotoxicity, kidney damage, liver damage, and more. In Colorado cities and towns such as Colorado Springs, the glyphosate-based herbicide known as Roundup is sprayed on lawns and public parks despite being a possible carcinogen. All right, it's going to go on and on. This lady hates our guts, and this is just okay. We've heard it once, we've heard it 100 times.
Well, this is a conversation that carried over from before the show a little bit in terms of, they're pushing this. And there was another article that was sent to us about Las Vegas and how they're making moves so that all, what is it, Ray? Non-essential or non-functional turf, so roadsides, rights of ways, things like that.
Mhm.
Here's the thing I don't understand is that they want to have it at parks and everything like that, but isn't it somewhat defeating the purpose that you're going to have to get in your car and drive to a park, or you're going to have to go out on your rocks and play catch with your son or daughter, or your spouse or whatever, take your dog out on rocks or some xeriscape that's hundreds of degrees.
Ryan, I have an answer
Yeah.
to this. I have an answer to this problem, and you know what that is? This lady needs to be part of the solution and move her bitchy ass to where there's actually water. Okay? She needs to be part of the solution. And because here's what chaps my ass about all of these environmental activists. They are always telling other people what they should be going without or giving up. They're always doing that, Ryan. They're telling people you have to give up your lawns. And did we not talk about this before, where in actual practice, maintained turfgrass areas do have an ecological and environmental benefit? Because what happens when you replace natural maintained irrigated grass with, say, either astroturf or rock? What happens, Ryan?
I see. I get the water piece when it all comes down to
However,
it. But there's a lot more bad things I see on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. What happens, Ryan, when you take away all the grass and it gets replaced with either rock or astroturf? What actually happens in the local environment? I mean,
temperatures go down.
No, temperatures go up.
Microplastics
go way up.
Enter during
into
the
the water
season.
stream. And then, and speaking of water stream or waterways, when you no longer have grass or vegetation, a lot of your pollutants and contaminants then run right into the waterways unfiltered. And that is, for example, the reason why in Hawaii there is literally a mandate or a dictate to maintain vegetation over every possible square inch of dirt. We have that dictate to try to mitigate or minimize the amount of pollutants or contaminants that run off into the water.
So I think that's what Sammy, needs to realize, and we'll talk a little bit about this more. We've got a couple other headlines that are interesting about, be careful what you wish for. So that's all I'm going to say here is that, slow down the development. If there's ways to do this, build, smaller, or not smaller, but I should say, turf areas that are green spaces within these developments. Do something, right? Just don't take away a lawn and then make people have to go to a school or a park or something like that to actually use grass for its intended purpose, which is recreation, but also forget about the functional aspects of turf and what they are. So, yeah, boys, it's going to be fast and furious out there in the West. I think it's going to be, like I said, a lot of this stuff, a lot of unintended consequences that come down the pike, and then we'll probably flip back in 20 or 30 years the other way around.
In the vein of unintended consequences, let's go ahead and check out this week's returns because, buddy, you teabagged me. Oh, wait, was that? I think I said it incorrectly. You teed me up for a good one here. I think that was a Freudian slip.
I mean, we could, yeah.
This week's returns.
Your head off the mattress, please. Right off the corner, right off the edge. Just lean back. There you
go. Lean back. Ban on pesticides with PFAS feeds concern about unintended impacts. Well, we were just golly, Demain. It's like you took a peek into the future, and your unintended consequences was all of a sudden beginning to come to fruition. And this is just in one particular segment here, but again, it's something worth dissecting. Maine is the first state in the nation to ban pesticides that contain forever chemicals, a law that could have forced more than 1,300 pesticides to be taken off the market here. In some fear, the loss of about 1 of every 10 pesticides that can be sold here will have unintended consequences for Maine farmers and consumers. The ban doesn't kick in until 2030, but manufacturers are facing a key disclosure deadline that could hasten the market departure of some pesticide makers who conclude the cost of the testing needed to comply with this month's reporting mandate outweighs the profits that can be made here. This has some Maine farmers, including some of its 300 certified organic farmers, worried they soon won't be able to defend their crops from pests or blights, said Julianne Smith of the Maine Farm Bureau. There is already a very limited selection of certified organic pesticides. No organic pesticide maker is going to do PFAS testing for $5,000 a year in annual sales. They're going to say, hell no, Maine's not worth it, and move on, leaving Maine farmers, especially organic farmers, without the tools we need to get our food to market. With their competition eliminated, pesticide makers that stay in the main market will probably raise prices, adding to the financial burden already facing farmers dealing with increased labor and fertilizer costs. Smith said farmers are also spending money to test fields, crops, and water for PFAS. If Maine farmers can't get their products to market, consumers will lose access to fresh, locally produced food. She pointed to studies that showed fresh food packs a mightier nutrient punch than food trucked in from out of state, which can take weeks instead of days to reach consumers. And it's not like the food that will take its place on local tables will be safer for Mainers to eat, she said. Farmers in other states that don't have bans on PFAS and pesticides will step in to overtake that market, hurting Maine farmers without providing a health benefit to Maine consumers. But again, we've got until 2030 to figure this out. But for right now, it's kind of I'd say the panic is setting in. And you may be asking, what pesticides are manufactured with PFAS as part of a formulating agent. And as of right now, none. That is by the wayside. That's no longer being done. But what does end up happening is the various solvents and shit that you find as formulation agents that are mixed with pesticides and then go into a plastic container. And the plastic container contains what? Well, PFAS. And all of a sudden, it makes its way into the pesticide and by proxy into the crop itself. Thus, that old organic tomato or broccoli head or asparagus that you're eating turned out might have the same level of PFAS contamination, if not greater, than your conventionally grown crop. And sorry, it's really the only thing anybody can say right now is like, "Oops, my bad." And I'm sure that's a very comforting thing to hear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing: is that they have used this like loophole, essentially. I guess you call it a loophole. That hey, we're not banning pesticides; we're banning the containers, right? That we're banning PFAS in general, right? Which then affects all the containers. About 70% of those have some form of PFAS in them, right? And to that extent, just like what they're saying here, with the testing that's going to be required to pass muster in the state and get your product registered, even if it is an organic or a 25B or a natural, whatever, all that stuff. Like, I can't believe. No, I can. You're right. No, I can't. I can believe that there would be unintended consequences from banning something, right? And not thinking through what is going to take place here. So, I feel bad for these farmers in the sense, Ray, that I don't think that they probably pushed for this necessarily. Maybe they did. I don't know. I think
No,
I'm
they
sure that
did
they
not.
were fine
I
with
don't think they
doing
pushed.
their thing.
Yeah, they pushed for this. What I think happened is some do-gooder decided to do even more. And okay, here's my position on PFAS. I think that if we know that something has like a high amount of PFAS, such as biosolids or sewage sludge, by all means, monitor it. However, if it's a matter of incidental amounts of PFAS, we got to ask ourselves, is it worth it? And I also have to ask, okay, is this even a problem? Is this even a problem? I mean, because you see, my beef and why I am so damned anti government is because it seems that government is always looking for solutions in search of a problem. They can't help themselves, they're always doing it. And I operate on the principle of if it is not an issue right now, if it's not causing a problem, leave it the fuck alone. Let it go. there's bigger fish to fry, bigger problems to solve, and actual problems to solve. I mean,
Yeah.
my God, if I were in that state, my God, I would be starting a campaign to vote out whoever proposed this. Okay? I'd want their ass out of office.
They'll probably be president of the United States when this finally goes into effect. So you don't have to worry about that, Ray. Be all taken care of. I think the greater point here is, and I'll just ask you gentlemen real quick, is, do we need to learn more about PFAS? We know that they're forever chemicals, and I'm not saying that we should. Well, maybe, I don't know. Do you invest and give people, the opportunity to, make non-PFAS containers and chemicals and all that kind of stuff, and let technology catch up? And what do you do in the meantime? Again, it's this whole velocity of change thing, right? So I'm asking because I don't know. I haven't thought much about it, but
Ryan,
do we just say, hey, well, we're gonna do the best we can until we figure something better out, or do you just start outlawing the stuff?
Here's the thing: is that I'm gonna show my age, but I remember when a lot of pesticides and products, liquid products, for example, guess what they came in? Either 1 or 5 gallon metal cans, or they came in glass bottles. That's how they were packaged back in the day. No plastic. And in fact, personally, I'm not in favor of plastic. And of course, I'm looking at, for example, how a lot of these pesticides and products are packaged in Asia. I'm envious because those guys use, get this one, aluminum bottles from 1 liter all the way down to 125 milliliter. Not plastic.
Well, like I said, there's got to be a reckoning at some point with. We have to get rid of this stuff. Like, it's not, it's in nobody's best interest to continue to use it, but what's it going to take to get there? And as Matt said, the industry is littered at all points of manufacturing with this stuff, and we're not the only ones too. I mean, that's the other part that I think is interesting. Is I wonder. And
the cabins of your car, your tractor, everything, your coat hangers. You're inundated with it.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. And, okay, fun fact, guys. The other common source of PFAS is the stain and water repellent treatment applied to carpet and upholstery. Scotchgard?
Yeah.
That is a PFAS. Stain Master? That's a PFAS right there. And so it's everywhere.
It is going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out, and I don't know. I have no idea what is going to be in store over the next 10 years, especially if they can start showing some causative data over long periods of time as to proliferation of things in society now that we are not exactly sure of how it came to prevalence, and has the predominance of PFAS been the causative agent that we haven't been able to figure out, where we may have been pointing at, it's seed oils, or it's diet, or it's glyphosate. Well, and in turn, maybe it's that our lives are all completely run on plastic, and somehow that's managed to find its way into our bloodstream in some form or fashion. You never know. And that's going to be a pivotal piece to see how all this really starts to send everybody into the atmosphere. Tennessee, the good old University of Tennessee, I love these guys, has done what I said needed to be done a long fucking time ago. And that is, they have developed and launched the UT Certified Lawn Care Professional Program. And so this is an introductory level online program for people that are interested in golf turf, sports turf, and lawn care. It's targeted towards everyone from industry newcomers to experienced turfgrass professionals seeking supplemental education. It's on your own terms type of course. It's going to take 15 to 20 hours to complete, and it's going to be through a series of seminars and online teachings, and it's going to cover everything that you basically could need, and especially moving into today's day and age of turfgrass identification, turfgrass selection, soil fertility. And I think turfgrass selection, its selection, especially in places of the transition zone where culturally we were so ass backwards on what we're choosing to install. Soil fertility, water management, planting and establishment, weeds, diseases, insects, pests, pest management, and maintenance operation. Well, how about them apples? That's definitely a good one to cover. And this will give you a certification that's going to be valid for 2 years. And then they recommend you re-up it every 2 years. And it's $250. That's approachable. And then if you look at the names of the people who have put this together, I mean, these are absolute powerhouses of guys that we have going on right now.
There's a stars.
Jim Brosnan, Sorokin, Horvath, Dr. Tom Samples. If you probably don't remember putting this together, but damn it, he put a lot of heart into it. That is without a doubt. I love Tom Samples with all my heart. Natalie Bumgarner, Christopher Cooper, Kylie Dickinson. Kylie Dickinson is super badass. And you know, you don't see his name out there a lot right now, but as far as doing a lot of his work with head injuries on artificial turf, you know, he's always playing in that space right now. I can give you a shit ton of data on it and just can walk you around the research facility and just like bring you up to snuff and scare the holy shit out of you pretty instantaneously. He's a great guy. Just an awesome addition to the university there. Anna Duncan, Justin Stefanski, Mitchell Moe, Tyler Reeder, Seth Whitehouse, Jason Garrett, Tyler Carr, Ben Pritchard, and Jose Vargas. Anyway, $250. It's a nice playing field, and you know what? This is designed to accomplish exactly what needs to be accomplished right now, and that's to button up our weakest links in the industry and try to provide a standard that that if you have this certification, that means that you have accomplished a certain level of threshold of in industry knowledge. And so kudos to UT, always thinking.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
What are you thinking there?
Oh no. Oh no, I was just gonna say that there's a lot of folks I think that probably have somewhere between a lackluster and no training program, and what better way to jump on board than $250 on the easy button to get some world-class education and get yourself, your team, your tech, whoever, certified and up to snuff, and have, man, the biggest brand in turf, the only place that would accept and graduate one Matthew Martin from their Turfgrass program. It's the one and only UT Knoxville.
God bless them.
Go get yourself.
For the last return, can you help? I don't quite understand here, DeMay. I wanted to jump to the one that you threw in the chat here, so I'm gonna let you.
Oh no! It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
Yeah. Go to the article, and then we'll jump over to the link I sent over.
All right. NFL playoff games to be played on Ohio State's Turfgrass.
No.
According to
Oklahoma
OSU, the Philadelphia Oklahoma State. Oh fuck, it's Tahoma 31. I see it now. Sorry, I saw OSU in the.
No,
I am not reading the
other
top one. I'm scrolled down, and then I see OSU's Tahoma 31, and I was like, oh shit. It was right about the same time you said that. Oak State's Tahoma 31 overseeded with Ryegrass. The Eagles versus the 49ers at Lincoln Financial Field. Good stuff there. And what we're seeing is that more and more of this durable Bermuda grass and showing up in areas that are not necessarily known for being able to support Bermuda grass. And not only is it supporting Bermuda grass, it's supporting it well, and is providing a playing surface that ultimately produces hopefully all the things we want to see: fewer injuries, better games, and happier players at the end of it all. So shout out to those guys. Then,
hey, how about that? And then Joe, I feel good for Joe. We're recording this Sunday night, so the Eagles just won. So happy for Joe. And I'm also happy. Go down, look at Budget Lawns, Travis, my dude. I don't even know if you're being facetious, and if you are, I don't care. See what I did there? But look at thanks science. So you're playing on these fields. You're seeing these beautiful natural grass fields in January, late January, in Philadelphia and Kansas City, because, gentlemen, of science. So science.
No. Oh, wait. Hang on. I got to highlight the thanks Mother Nature there. And let me tell you, Tahoma 31 was not an accidental discovery. So,
No.
while I love the oversimplification there that, Mother Nature just completely ripped this one right out of the rectum and threw it in the ground over there. And we should all cheer and high five. That is not what happened. This is tons and tons and tons of research, data gathering, modifications, breeding of the most skilled and forward-thinking people this industry has to offer. And so to dumb that down and say that the round of applause applies to Mother Nature as well, that I'd say that's why you're now Waterboy Productions instead of the Organic Lawn Warrior as you started out. So anyway, love you, Joe.
Matt, Tahoma 31 at the playoff and Super Bowl field was kind of exactly what my sod grower and I were talking about. And my sod grower, he was all hyped up. He said, "Hey, you think that because there's all this publicity for the Tahoma 31 that then people will start using more Tahoma 31 here in Hawaii?" And I said,
Yeah.
not a chance. Not a chance.
Oh.
No.
Ray
Only in
always
Hawaii
bringing
would
people back down to earth. Ray is always.
Only in Hawaii would people be too fucking stupid to not use anything other than El Toro Zoysia. Okay?
We're going to
Only in
leave you on
Hawaii.
that note. We love you all. We're going to go hang out with the patrons and let them choose the title of this week's episode. And probably throw some more cheap shots at Hawaii as a whole. Love you all. Catch you on Thursday. By the way, we got Jay Bartle coming up this Thursday. And then after Jay Bartle, boy, it's gonna start to get wild as hell. Actually, I think Jay Bartle is gonna get wild. I think he will be the catalyst for the canceling of Thirsty Thursday all together. And I can't wait. I really look forward to it. And I mean that. Love y'all. Bye.